CNN. I mean, I'm from Daily Mail, but it is a CNN story. CNN data guru reveals the signs Trump will win 2024 election. You can't say we didn't warn you. So let's, do they actually have the video or the video crashed?
This fella's gone back and forth, though, if I'm not mistaken.
So one of the important things, which for whatever reason it's no longer in this, is the, here you go, just 20% of Americans in an aggregate of recent polls believe the country is going in the right direction. He says, quote, there isn't a single time in which 20% of the American public think the country is going the right track, in which the incumbent party actually won, Enton said, citing every election since the 80s. The bottom line is, if Republicans win come next week, then Donald Trump wins come next week, the signs all along will have been obvious. Mm-hmm. This is huge because the passive signs are indicating that Donald Trump is going to win.
That's what everyone seems to think.
Well, is that as close as you can come to saying you think Trump is going to win without CNN firing you? Like, that is such, he's like, if it happens, like, all the predictors are there, and we shouldn't say we're shocked by it happening if it does. Not saying it will. It's like...
This is we got to.
You're right. It's a wordy way to say that.
We got to bring this ABC article.
So here, let me play the clip for you actually, because this is what I was trying to pull up. This is
the right track.
Here we go.
Just 28% of Americans, voters, think the country is going in the right direction, is on the right track. And I want you to put that into a historical perspective for you. Okay, what's the average percentage of the public that thinks that the country is on the right track when the incumbent party loses? It's 25%. That 25% looks an awful bit like that 28% up there. It doesn't look anything like this 42% doesn't look anything like this 28%. So the bottom line is, very few Americans think the country is on the right track at this particular point. It tracks much more with when the incumbent party loses than with it wins. In fact, I went back through history. There isn't a single time in which 28% of the American public thinks the country is going on the right track in which the incumbent party actually won. They always lose when just 28% of the country believes that the country is on the right track.
I guess the question is, are we going to see the House and the Senate as well? Is it going to be a Republican clean sweep?
I hope so.
Listen, I don't want to be. I really hope he wins. I can't make a solid prediction yet. I really hope he does. I also feel the same way. Like, it feels like he's going to, but I don't want to act like we have it in the bag, man. Everyone's got to get out and vote.
If he lost, would you be bummed out for like a week?
I'd be pretty sad if he. Yeah, I think that it would be bad for America in the long run.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I'm not in love with Donald Trump as a politician. I think he's funny, he's entertaining, but like, I think that the policies that the Harris campaign would actually institute or would put in place would be incredibly bad for America. The past 4 years have been bad because of policy. We have crime rates have skyrocketed.
He's got a pretty good dream team too with Trump.
It would be great.
Elon Musk and RFK.
Yeah.
And like the crime that we see now is because of policy. The damage from inflation is because of policy. They didn't have to do all the things they did to stifle growth when you really needed it the most. After they pumped all that money into the economy, once they pumped the money into the economy, they had to open the economy up as soon as possible to have the ability to grow, so that way it could eat up the money and not have this massive inflation, because inflation is just too many dollars chasing not enough stuff. Yeah. So they should have they should have known that was going to happen because they did all that money printing, and they should have made sure that there were policies that were going to make the economy grow, and they didn't. They just let it go. They just said, no, we'll just go ahead and open things up and it'll be fine, instead of changing the tax policy and changing, because that kind of stuff actually matters. And that's just the top of it. The American people are sick and tired of the woke stuff. They're sick and tired of that stuff in government, and they're not going to pull back on that.
I'll tell you some of the boots on the floor New York people that are, just like your average liberal at a comedy club will say that we don't want, like, the big thing that they're scared about is, obviously there's a bit of the abortion stuff, but the other part of it will be like, if Republicans have another judge, that'll be the end of the world.
Banning drag. That's what they're afraid of.
I'm just saying that's a big talking point. Is they have another they have another judge, they go, that's going to be that forever. So they go, that's why this one's. I've heard that a lot.
They will get one, but let me ask you, Ryan, as a comedian, which would you prefer?
In which way?
Is it easier doing comedy when Trump is in office or Harris would be in office?
We were kind of joking about that. I mean, if you probably look at the actual way the if you look at actual comedy and things getting bad, it was probably crazier under Trump, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I kind
But I mean,
What is it? I felt
what
like,
do you think? Do you think comedy was better in 2016 to 2020
I
or
think-
2020 to 2024?
It's not so much that as I think if the challenge with the Trump presidency is that the media is dominated by clapter, and so you don't actually get at the corporate level. There's arguments.
I love that term.
because
I
because
don't think too many people are making their decision based on what it's going to be better for
dude.
comedy.
no. I'm just
Yeah.
asking, will it be better or worse? SNL under Trump was just the worst thing imaginable.
Yes.
It wasn't comedy at all. Alec Baldwin was doing these weird impersonations of Trump that didn't actually impersonate Trump at all. He would dress like Trump and then do weird things Trump didn't do. Like Shane Gillis does Trump. And,
he does a great
and you're
job.
like, okay, he's acting like Trump and he's exaggerating a little bit. Alec Baldwin would just say weird things and then do a weird thing with his mouth, and I'm like, but Trump doesn't do that. It's not making me laugh about Trump because they're obsessed with him. They have this psychotic obsession. So actually,
He hates him.
right.
Yeah.
So because they hate Trump so much, I feel like corporate comedy is going to be absolute trash. Like, when was the last?
Yeah, that's how I feel. It depends because you're right. It's like probably whenever the media goes insane, the like underground comedy and underground things period kind of do better,
Yeah.
and the corporate version does worse. That's probably a good way to put it.
I would agree. I mean, this is the other thing too. So Trey Parker,
Trump wins, it'll be worse for the corporate stuff. It'll be worse for Hollywood. They'll make worse stuff. But
But
as a
also,
result of that, think about how many.
under Joe Biden, because this has become the machine. I think we're seeing more people, for a variety of reasons, are actually making jokes about wokeness and pushing back on it. It's becoming more acceptable to challenge because it's viewed as the establishment
That's true.
to a certain degree.
Yeah, and also it's sort of that moment has been sort of moved past in a little bit, so it's become not so hot anymore. And some people don't want to touch things that are too hot. Now it feels like, it's not as hot anymore. I can talk about it. But the question
Well,
is,
Jon Stewart defended Tony Hinchcliffe.
yeah, I saw that.
That was really funny. He's laughing and he's like, he's very funny.
Yeah, that's a
It's
fair
like-
point.
And it was like Tony, and the jokes he showed from Tony were like some of his more shocking comedy.
Yeah, he was like, if you want to get mad at people, if you want to get mad at someone, you can get mad at the party for having him on. But it's like the guy got hired to do what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a pretty interesting question. I've been asked this too. It's like, oh, well, are you going to have more material if Kamala wins or if Trump wins? And the reality is people will
Woman
often
president
say
jokes I'll tell you what.
hilarious. No. But the other, I got a sitcom idea for you. A president, but it's a woman. People will laugh. No, but the
I'm listening.
we'll set it. We'll show people the hijinks every week.
The guy takes his bin of orange jokes and throws them in the trash, and takes his bin of women jokes. And puts
We were
But,
talking about this, like if there was Seamus's gag was a 1950s pitch.
Oh yeah, dude! I actually
of
should
a
make that
sitcom,
cartoon.
and it's
Yeah.
like
it's a bunch
like
of very
the-
offensive.
how the 1950s would imagine a female president is like, what did you call the Department of Baking?
Yeah, it's like, what, is she going to start a department of Bay? It's just like the most insane, over the top. Like the executives are like, I just don't think people would believe it. But what I wanted to
Kamala
say
does love cooking.
is that people will ask this question: is it going to be easier to make fun of Kamala or Trump? And this is actually something that came up with the South Park guys, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who are obviously hilarious. But one thing that they said was they don't really want to do comedy right now. They don't want to do new episodes because Donald Trump is doing his own comedy. And I understand that perspective. But for me, what always worked was just making fun of the reaction to Donald Trump, because I find that much more entertaining and interesting and funny than what he does. It's hard to make him funny. He's funny on his own. It's much easier to make fun of the people who freak out over every little thing he does.
Do you remember when it was the election between Obama and I think it was McCain, and what the South Park episode was? They, within a week of the election,
Was that
had a-
giant douche turd?
No, it was Barack Obama and John McCain were a part of a secret cabal that was trying to gain access to the a secret spy mission, like a heist movie, to gain access to the White House to steal the diamonds. And Obama and McCain were actually friends, and they were all working together.
That's right.
And they were like, we need to get into the White House so we can get access to the safe and steal the jewels. And it was within like a week. They did not make fun of him politically, either of them. They made a random movie joke about how the real conspiracy is that they were just trying to steal rare jewels from underneath the White House. And that's doing comedy in a way that no one is, for whatever reason, people's brains are fried right now. And they have to just be like, how do we make fun of Donald Trump? You don't make fun of Donald Trump. You put Donald Trump in a situation that is humorous and exaggerated.
Yeah, and also that in that topic, when the late night was talking about Trump, you go, every single person that says a joke on late night, you go, that's been made 40,000 times on the internet right now. But there's still funny things. Like even when he was doing Rogan, you go, like to me, one thing that would be funny was he kept being like, you know, this guy's a scumbag. He was stealing from people. It's like kept scamming people. He can't be trusted. He goes, you know, if I was in his position, I'd do it too. I respect the move. You know, hey, honestly, I respect, you know, game recognized game. But I think that like it's some things like that are funny.
There's a joke there with like Trump talking about players and pimps and like, you know, cheating husbands. But Trump's famous for that. There's a viral moment from the 2016 campaign where he's talking about Hillary and he gets asked about, do you use tax loopholes to avoid paying taxes? And he goes, 100% I do.
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, and you know, and so does all of Hillary's donors. I used to be one.
Yeah.
We all do it. And we're going to use the system. And he's like, and she's going to make sure like the carried interest is going to persist for all of her buddies.
No, as if he's supposed to say, and the politically smart thing is to say, well, no, of course, anytime the Democrats say they need to raise my taxes to pay for something, of course, I do everything in my power to make sure I pay as much as possible. Like, how could you even ask that to a Republican candidate when they're supposed to be running on slicing taxes? Like, that they gift wrapped it for him.
Trump is the game recognizing game candidate.
Yeah, but to me, that's always funny.
That's the thing that's funny about Trump. That's why I think like watching Freedom Tunes, it's funny when you make fun of Kamala. So there was the one comic you did, cartoon you did recently, where it was the Fox News interview with Kamala.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then Brett's like, "How many illegal immigrants do you think entered?" And she just goes like, "Rah, rah, rah." And people are like, "I don't."
Way to spoil my brilliant material.
But the liberals are like, "It's not even funny. That's not even what happened." And it was like, the joke isn't necessarily that she did scream on air. It's that her answers are incoherent, and then the media defends her no matter what she does, no matter how shockingly outrageous.
One of my favorite.
She's gonna. I think that her caricature will be like, this is like a drunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if she's the president,
SNL already did.
Yeah, I know but the character is gonna be more aggressive versions of that.
Did you see the bit where they were Kamala and her husband Emhoff were watching the VP debates, and she's pouring wine, and then she's like watching Tim Walz, and then she's like, I don't know if he was the right choice, and then SNL Emhoff goes, well, let's just hope he doesn't say anything crazy, and then it cuts to Tim Walz going, I'm friends with school shooters.
That's right.
And then she shatters her wine glass, and she's like, I should have chosen Joe, and then like Shapiro, and then she pours more wine. Like SNL was making fun of her as a drunk. I thought that was interesting. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.